Around midnight, I opened the freezer to get ants, and it was filled with hamster carcasses. Like almost 2 dozen. I practically threw up. I never brought it up, and never spent the night again. She moved away a couple months later. The most bizarre was a moose head with large antlers mounted high above the mantle. As I commented here some time ago, the moose head had amber glass eyes with electric light bulbs behind them. In the dark, it looked like the moose was angry and about to charge right off the wall. TLDR at the bottom. When I was in 4th grade, I had a best friend, who we will call Beth. She frequently came to spend the night at my house, and after a few months I pressured her to let me come over to her house for the weekend. I'd met her mom before, and from what I assessed with my 8-year-old brain, her family seemed normal. I didn't really understand why she avoided me coming over. The day finally comes for me to spend the night at her house, and I was effing stoked. Her house was huge. They had a big backyard with a playset, gigantic TVs, and a nice DVD collection. It was my first time meeting her stepdad, but he seemed pretty nice. I also met her little sister who was probably around 8 months old. All in all, fun day so far. Things start getting weird the closer it gets to bedtime. Beth didn't have a bunk bed, so I had to sleep with her in her bed. Not a problem. But as we're getting ready for bed, I can tell that Beth is getting very anxious. She started kind of pacing around her room and getting all teary-eyed. She finally broke when I lifted up her pillow and found a fillet knife. Now, I'm 8 at this point, so my initial reaction was to laugh and ask why she had a knife under her pillow. She snapped, "It's not funny," and broke down in tears. I panicked, and after several long minutes of trying to apologize, she finally tells me that she brought a knife in to keep me safe. That her stepdad came into her room at night sometimes and did things, and that she wanted to protect me if he tried anything tonight. My brain automatically kicks into safety mode, and I start asking questions like how long, what does he do, and does your mom know? She told me that she only told her mom after her little sister was born, and that her mom didn't believe her. He'd been molesting her for as long as she could remember, and was scared that her little sister was next. That sometimes she'd stay awake and would hear him go to her sister's room after he finished with Beth. I didn't sleep that night. I could hear her stepdad pacing around the house in the middle of the night, but he never opened the door to the Beth's bedroom or her little sister's. The next morning, when I woke up, he was watching from the living room on his computer. The girls looked young. When my mom finally came to pick me up, Beth begged me not to say anything. My mother was a psychologist. Beth knew she'd reported. I waited a few days, but I started noticing weird behavior in Beth the next few days at school, asking me about a suicide pact, self-harming, etc. I went home and told my mom everything. The next day, Beth was pulled from class by the guidance counselor and I never saw her again. My mom told me she was sent to northern Texas to live with her real father while everything was sorted out. I still think about what happened to her and her little sister. TLDR, my best friend growing up kept a knife under her pillow when I stayed the night and told me it was to protect me from her stepdad who molested her and her baby sister.
Oh no, a spy. What will I do? But I was just Spencer here. Oh no. Oh no.
Multilinguals. What's your they didn't realize I could understand their language story? I've said this before. It happened a while ago. I went to a psychiatric emergency ward once and asked for help, and if they were comfortable to speak English. I understand Danish, but have a hard time making myself understandable in it, and didn't really feel like an idiot at a crucial time of my life. I stayed there for 4 days without anyone realizing I knew what they were saying about me right in front of me. 2 of the nurses thought I was cute. 1 doctor thought I was lying all the time. A patient thought I was a spy for the staff. A lot happened in those 4 days. It made my stay way more enjoyable than it should have been. My wife is Indian and her family speaks Gujarati. I've spent many years trying to pick it up, and have found it to be very difficult as there are no great resources that I'm aware of to learn it. You just have to listen and try to guess the context.
I eat my own poop.
Over the years I've gotten pretty good, and when my wife's aunt was visiting from India she went right into my wife about how much weight I'd gained, and how bad my diet must be. I understood every word, and stopped her about 2 minutes into her rant. Turns out it didn't stop her from continuing. Some workers at an airport restaurant were saying very inappropriate things about my sister in Spanish.
Oh my god.
The women were criticizing her appearance, arguing with the men, who were saying very inappropriate observations about what she was wearing, and what they would do to her. I ordered in Spanish. Workers all went silent and looked stunned. I asked detailed questions about the food/menu in Spanish, so that they understood I knew everything they were saying. I gave her my credit card, but she never swiped it, and a $40 airport meal was free. So at the end of the day it was a win. I only speak one language, but was training this guy until a few years ago, and there were two French girls chatting in French and suddenly he got a huge smile, and said mercy to the girls. One burst out laughing, and the other one turned bright red. Turned out she was talking about how hot she found him. I'm born to Russian immigrants. Whenever my family and I travel abroad, we almost exclusively speak Russian, and tend to get better attitudes from people when they don't think we are American tourists. When I was 12 or so, we were in a cafe in Belgium and a large group of 20-something guys walk in. My dad gets a worried look on his face, drops his voice, and says we are Americans right now. He explained to me later that they were Chechen gang members at the time, when Chechnya was at war with Russia and anti-Russian sentiments were extremely high. Happened to my wife when she worked at McDonald's. She looks a little on the Asian side, but is from Guatemala. Group of Spanish-speaking people pay at the drive-thru and try short-changing her. Driver says he smelled that to China no safe card to that damn Asian lady can't count. Wife takes the money and very politely says they are short in Spanish. Driver turns red, while passengers couldn't stop laughing. When I was in Romania, as a Hungarian, I went to buy some food in a small town. I didn't know people in the restaurant were ethnic Hungarians, so when I asked for my food in English, the guy shouted a burger for the sefer in Hungarian to the kitchen. I was curious how it would end, so I pretended I didn't understand. When he got me my food and asked for double the price, I said, now in Hungarian, look, you can give me that for normal price, or I'm leaving it, but I sure as hell ain't coming back to UMFS ever again. I posted this on other threads before, but I think it's 6 weeks. I lived in Japan when I was little, and retook Japanese in college, so I didn't sound like a child when I spoke. To solidify my new language skill, I went to my hometown for about 6 weeks a summer in college. It was a small town, so most people remembered me or my family, but some people I stayed with, 6 weeks, 11 families that at least wanted me to spend a night in their home, were new to the area, since we left 15 years or so earlier. One of these families had a high school-aged son who wanted to borrow me for his high school's international festival. No problem. I'd go and let other high schoolers practice their English with me, and do carnival games and stuff. However, the guy apparently did not get the message that I spoke Japanese, and proceeded to introduce me to all his friends as his girlfriend. I let him have his moment for the night, without leading him on, but on the train, ride back to his home, he was talking to his friend in Japanese, and I joined in on the conversation. Also in Japanese, the embarrassment on his face was worth knowing. All his friends thought I was his girlfriend. I was a Mexican living in Germany with a Chinese school-assigned roommate. He claimed to not speak any English and my German wasn't good, so we weren't able to communicate. My German roommate then claimed he told them he didn't speak any German, so I gather he was antisocial. I took 3 years of Mandarin in high school, but I didn't try using it on him. About 3 months in, he and another Chinese student got off the bus at the same stop I did, and we all walked together to our flat. Heard him talking about me, and his friend laughing but held back. Once we got to our flat, I opened the door, and told them to please enter in Chinese. I still remember his shocked face. His friend later complimented my Chinese, while a few weeks later my roommate claimed my Chinese was so bad that he couldn't understand me. I seriously think he just wanted no contact with me. Possibly because he never followed the cleaning schedule. I'll